Captured and caged Arya sat in the cold metal cage, her legs pulled tightly to her chest. The floor beneath her was wet and smelled of oil and blood. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her thin arms were covered in bruises. Her clothes had been taken the moment she arrived. Now she wore nothing but a dirty blanket wrapped around her like a shield. She didn't cry anymore. She had no tears left. The market was loud. Creatures from all over the galaxy walked past the cages, shouting, laughing, bargaining. Giant lizards, furry beasts, tall beings with glowing eyes. They barely looked at her. To them, she was just one more thing to be bought or ignored. Too weak, one alien said as he passed her cage. Not worth the credits, another snorted. Arya looked down. She didn't want to see their faces. Every time someone came close, she feared they would take her next. But no one wanted her. She was too small, too thin, too scared, and yet, that was not comfort. She knew what happened to those the market couldn't sell. Suddenly, the crowd went quiet. A figure walked through the center of the market. Not tall, not loud, but something about him made everyone move aside. He wore a dark jacket, boots, covered in red dust, and a strange symbol on his shoulder. He was a human. Humans were rare here. Most stayed close to their own space. They didn't come to slave markets. They didn't buy people. But this one did not stop walking. He moved slowly, calmly, scanning the cages. He stopped in front of Arya. She didn't look up at first. She was used to people staring. But this time she felt something different, something heavy. She looked up and met his eyes. His face was hard, but not cruel. A long scar ran down his right cheek. He didn't speak. He just looked at her. Arya's heart pounded. Was this it? The seller, a fat alien with slimy green skin, came forward. You like that one? He asked, chuckling. Not much use, I tell you. Barely speaks, no strength. Probably won't survive the week. The human didn't answer. You want her? The seller asked again, now slightly nervous. The human nodded once. How much? The seller laughed. For that? Give me a meal and she's yours. The human reached into his coat and threw a few credit chips onto the table. The deal was done. In seconds, Arya was taken out of the cage. Her legs trembled. The blanket slipped from her shoulders. She tried to cover herself, but the market didn't care. She was pushed toward the human. She didn't resist. There was no point. He put his jacket around her shoulders. Warmth. For the first time in days. Can you walk? He asked, his voice low and calm. She nodded barely. He didn't say anything else. He just started walking and she followed. The crowd watched them in silence. Some laughed, some whispered, but no one stopped them. Arya didn't know where he was taking her. Maybe to a ship, maybe somewhere worse. Her feet hurt. Her body ached. But the jacket, it smelled like leather and smoke and safety. They reached a small ship on the edge of the market. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, he said. She climbed in. The ship was simple but clean. He handed her a bottle of water. She drank it all in seconds. Then he gave her a piece of bread. She ate slowly this time, unsure if she was dreaming. After a few minutes, he spoke again. You're safe now. She looked at him confused. Why, did you buy me? He sat down across from her. So no one else could. But what do you want me to do? She asked, voice shaking. Nothing, he said. You're not a slave, not anymore. She didn't believe him. Not yet. My name is Reeve, he added. You can sleep here. When you're ready, we'll find you a better place. Arya held the bread tightly in her hand. Her eyes filled with tears again. The first in days. No one had ever called her safe before. And for the first time, in a long time, she felt it. The human with no name Arya woke up on a soft bed. Not a cage floor, not a cold corner, but a real bed. The blanket was warm. The lights were dim. For a moment, she didn't move. She was afraid that if she opened her eyes, she'd be back in the market. But she wasn't. This was a ship. Clean metal walls, smooth floors, a quiet hum from the engine. She looked down. She was dressed in simple gray clothes. Not perfect, but better than anything she had for weeks. Maybe months. She slowly sat up. Her body still ached, but her stomach was no longer empty. And for once, she wasn't afraid. But the question remained. Who was he? And what did he really want? Reeves stood alone in the control room. Screens glowed in front of him. One showed a star map. Another flashed a red message. Tracking signal detected. Low-level scan. He didn't react. His eyes stayed calm, focused. He knew someone would come. Slavers didn't forgive stolen property, even when that property was just a scared girl no one wanted. He had bought her because he couldn't walk away. Not again. Reeve had seen too many people in cages. Not just aliens, not just enemies. Sometimes even his own kind. War had taught him that evil wore many faces. Some wore crowns, some wore uniforms, and some sold children. Arya stepped into the room slowly, unsure if she was allowed. "You're up," Reeve said without turning. "Yes," she replied quietly. He looked at her then. "Feel better?" She nodded. He pointed to a seat. "Sit." She did carefully. The silence between them was strange. Not uncomfortable, just heavy, like there were too many things left unsaid. Finally, she asked the question burning in her chest. "Who are you?" Reeve didn't answer right away. He leaned back in his chair and looked at the screen. "I was a soldier," he said finally, "in a war that was supposed to end all wars." "Which war?" Arya asked. "The human galactic conflict." He said. "I fought for Earth, special forces. We were told we were heroes. But heroes don't burn villages. Heroes don't leave children behind." Arya looked down. She understood that kind of pain. "Why did you leave?" she asked. "Because I saw a little girl die," he said. "She was trying to protect her brother. I shot the man who killed her, but it didn't change anything. She still died." Arya swallowed hard. "And I reminded you of her?" "No," he said. "You reminded me of what happens when good people do nothing." The ship beeped. Another signal. Reeve pressed a button. A map lit up showing small ships circling the outer system. "They found us?" Arya asked. "Maybe. Maybe not yet. But they're looking." "For me?" "No," Reeve said calmly. "For me. You were just the excuse." Arya stared at him. "But why would they want you?" Reeve looked at her, a cold fire in his eyes. "Because I killed one of their bosses. 6 years ago. He ran a chain of slave worlds, took people from both sides. During the war, we were supposed to ignore it for the peace treaty. I didn't." "What did you do?" she asked, whispering. "I burned his fortress to the ground," Reeve said, "and I made sure they knew it was me." Arya stared at him in silence. She had been right. He wasn't just kind. He was dangerous, powerful, feared. "Why did you go to the market?" she asked. "I heard rumors. Small slaves going unsold were being killed quietly. They called it cleanup. I went to stop one." "You were the one I found." Arya's hands trembled. The slavers had never told her that. "You're not safe here for long," Reeve said. "But I have a plan." "What plan?" she asked. "There's a station 2 systems away," he said. "Human zone. If I can get you there, they'll give you protection. Papers, a new identity, a new life." "And what about you?" she asked. "I don't get new lives," he said. "Only people like you do." Arya stood up. "You can't just throw yourself away." Reeve smiled slightly. "It's not throwing myself away. It's doing something right finally." Just then, an alarm rang louder than before. "Incoming. Signal. Unidentified vessel approaching fast." Reeve jumped to the controls. "They're here." Arya's breath caught. "What do we do?" "We run," he said, flicking switches. "Hang on." The ship launched into full speed. Stars stretched outside the window. Behind them, dark ships followed. Arya gripped the seat. The fear was back, but this time, she wasn't alone. This time, the human sitting beside her was not just anyone. He was a ghost from war, and now he was fighting again. Not a slave anymore. The ship shook violently as another blast rocked the hull. Arya held tightly to the seat as lights flickered above her. Reeves' hands moved fast over the controls, eyes fixed on the screen, calm even as danger closed in from all sides. "They're not giving up," he muttered. Behind them, two small hunter ships followed, firing ion bursts. One of the shots had already taken out their rear shield. Another would bring them down. Arya looked at him, her voice trembling. "Can we make it?" Reeve didn't answer immediately. Instead, he twisted the controls and sent the ship diving toward a dense asteroid field. "If they follow us in there," he said, "they'll risk crashing. They might back off." "And if they don't?" Arya asked. Reeve smiled, a sharp, cold grin. "Then we'll show them we're not easy prey." Arya had never felt fear like this, not even at the market. Back then, she had accepted her fate. Pain, hunger, silence, that was her world. But now, something had changed. Now, she wanted to live, not just survive. Live, because someone, a human, had shown her kindness, had called her free. The ship twisted and turned between floating rocks, each one large enough to crush them. Reeve flew like a shadow, every move sharp and perfect. Arya watched him with wide eyes. He was a fighter. Even in silence, she could feel the weight of his past. He didn't talk about what he had lost, but it showed in every decision, every scar. He wasn't just saving her, he was saving something inside himself too. Suddenly, one of the hunter ships crashed into a rock. The explosion lit up the sky. "One down," Reeve muttered. The second ship turned back. Reeve leaned back, breathing hard. The threat, for now, was over. Arya didn't realize she had been crying until a tear rolled down her cheek. Reeve looked over. "You okay?" She nodded. "Thank you." He nodded once and turned the ship toward a quiet corner of space. They landed on a small moon hours later. Quiet, deserted, hidden behind a gas giant. Reeve stepped out first, scanning the area. When he was sure it was safe, he helped Arya out. The moon was cold and gray, the sky above a soft green. Not much life, but peace. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. He set up a small camp outside the ship. A fire, a heating unit, 2 sleeping mats. They sat together, eating from ration packs. Simple food. But to Arya, it tasted like freedom. "You said I'm not a slave anymore," she said suddenly. "But I don't even know who I am." Reeve looked at her, listening. "They took my name, my clothes, my family. I haven't been anything in months, just a thing in a cage." "You're more than that," Reeve said. "But what?" she asked. Reeve didn't answer immediately. He pulled something from his coat, a small metal disc. He pressed it, and a hologram appeared. A woman. Human, smiling, holding a little girl with bright eyes. "My sister," Reeve said. "Her name was Mila. She died during a raid years ago. I kept fighting after that, but I never really felt alive again." Arya looked at the image. "She looks like me," Reeve nodded. "That's why I stopped. When I saw you." Arya touched the hologram gently. "I don't remember my own sister's face." "You will," he said. "With time." Arya was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Why did you stay to fight? Why not just run and forget?" "Because," he said, staring into the fire. "Running lets monsters keep hunting." Arya didn't fully understand, but she felt something deep inside her begin to shift. Later that night, she woke from a nightmare, her cage, the market, the smell of blood. But this time, she screamed. Reeve was beside her in seconds. "It's okay. You're here. You're safe." She clutched his arm. "I don't want to be weak anymore." "Then don't be." he said softly. We can change that. The next morning, Reeve brought her outside. We'll start with basic training, he said. Not to fight, not yet, but to stand, to breathe, to remember that you're alive. Arya followed him through breathing drills, movement exercises, how to focus her fear and turn it into strength. She fell, she stumbled, she cried, but she got up every time. Reeve never yelled, never pushed, just stood beside her, steady and strong. You're not a slave, he said again and again. You're a survivor. By the end of the day, she stood taller. Not strong yet, but no longer broken. That night, as she sat beside the fire, Arya whispered something to herself. My name is Arya. Reeve looked over. What did you say? She looked him in the eye. My name is Arya, and I want to live. He smiled for the first time. A real smile. Then we'll make sure you do. But far above the quiet moon, a signal had been sent. Someone had tracked them. And this time it wasn't just slavers. It was someone from Reeve's past. Someone who once called him brother. And he was coming. Not for Arya, but to finish what war had started. A ghost from Wararia had never seen Reeve like this. His body was still, but his mind was far away. He sat beside the fire, staring at nothing, eyes locked on the flames like they were showing him another world. It had been 2 days since they landed on the hidden moon. Arya had started to feel stronger, waking up without fear, eating without shame, standing without shaking. Reeve trained her each morning, guiding her slowly, carefully. He never shouted, he never rushed her. And yet, now something had changed. He was quieter, colder. What's wrong? Arya asked. He didn't speak for a long moment. Then, finally, someone found us. Arya's heart dropped. The slavers? Reeve shook his head slowly. Worse. Above them, in the orbit of the gas giant, a sleek black warship floated in silence. No flags, no markings. It didn't need them. Inside, a man stood at the control deck. Tall, broad, wrapped in a red-black uniform, his face covered in thin scars. His right eye was cybernetic, glowing red, cold. His name was Commander Vero. Once long ago, he had fought beside Reeve. They were brothers in arms, until war changed them both. Now Varro hunted those who broke the new peace. He called them traitors. Reeve was number 1 on his list. Back on the moon, Arya helped Reeve pack supplies into the ship. You said we're safe here, she whispered. We were, Reeve replied. But the past always finds a way back. Who is it? She asked. Reeve looked at her. The fire in his eyes had returned, but it was colder now. Sharper. Varro, he said. He used to be my squad leader. He taught me everything I know. Then after the war, he joined the Alliance Patrol. Became something else. Someone else. What does he want? Reeve smiled without humor. To finish the job, to erase me, and maybe take you too. Proof that I broke galactic law. Arya took a step back. Then we run, right? We hide again. Reeve shook his head. Not this time. Why? Because Varro won't stop. Not now. Not ever. This ends today. As night fell, Reeve stood alone outside the ship, his long coat blowing in the wind. He looked up at the sky, waiting. Arya watched from the doorway. Are you going to kill him? If I have to, he said. What if you lose? She asked. He looked at her, steady, calm. Then you run. Arya stepped forward, standing in front of him. No, not again. I won't run and leave you behind. This isn't your fight, he said. You made it mine the moment you saved me, she replied. For a moment, silence passed between them. Then Reeve placed a small comm in her hand. If anything happens to me, he said, press this. It'll send a distress signal to a human outpost nearby. They'll come for you, understand? She didn't want to take it, but she did. The sky cracked open with a sudden sonic boom. The warship descended like a shadow falling over the land. It hovered just above the surface, Then a ramp lowered. 3 soldiers stepped out, followed by Commander Varro himself. He walked toward Reeve like a man meeting an old friend. No guns raised, no threats, just quiet, heavy tension. "Captain Reeve," Varro said. "You're a hard man to find." "Wasn't hiding from you," Reeve replied. "But I'm not surprised you came." Varro smiled faintly. "You broke 8 treaties, entered restricted zones, attacked a slave port, and worse, you've taken property of the Galactic Trade Commission." Arya stepped forward, anger in her eyes. "I'm not property." Varro looked at her, amused. "They all say that." Reeve moved between them. "She's under human protection now. She's not going anywhere." Varro's smile faded. "You always had a weakness for the broken ones, but you know how this ends." "I do," Reeve said, "with me standing and you on the ground." Varro raised a hand. The soldiers lifted their weapons. Reeve was faster. In one smooth move, he dropped a flash charge from his belt. The area filled with blinding white light. Arya turned away, eyes shut. Then chaos. Gunfire echoed across the rocky plain. Reeve moved like lightning, diving, rolling, shooting. One soldier dropped, then another. Arya screamed, "Reeve!" But he didn't answer, only kept moving. Then, Varro stepped in. He and Reeve clashed hand to hand. Fists, knees, knives. The sound of metal striking metal filled the night. Arya watched in horror, blood on both their faces, both refusing to fall. Reeve growled, "You were supposed to protect people." Varro spat blood. "I am, by stopping monsters like you." Their fight ended with a sharp crack. Reeve's blade pressed to Varro's throat. Arya ran forward. "Stop." Reeve hesitated. Varro was gasping, wounded but alive. "If you kill him," Arya said, "you become what they say you are." Reeve looked at her, really looked at her. Then slowly, he lowered the blade. Varro collapsed, unconscious. Reeve turned to Arya. "You saved me from becoming the man I used to be." She shook her head. "No, you saved yourself. I just reminded you." They left the moon before sunrise. Varro and the others would wake later, disarmed but alive. Reeve had left a message. "I'm not the ghost anymore. I'm the fire that cleans the rot." Arya sat beside Reeve in the cockpit, the stars stretching before them. "What now?" she asked. Reeve smiled softly. "Now we give you a life, and we stop running." Enemies in the shadows. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but Arya couldn't shake the feeling that something was behind them. Something watching. She sat in the co-pilot's seat watching Reeve pilot the ship. They had left the hidden moon 2 days ago. No attacks, no signals. The skies were quiet. Too quiet. Reeve noticed her silence. "You're not sleeping." "Neither are you," she replied. "Habit," he said. Arya looked out the window. "Do you ever feel like we're still being followed?" Reeve didn't answer. Instead, he opened a secret compartment near his seat and pulled out a black device, shaped like a coin. "What's that?" Arya asked. "A signal scrambler. Military. Great, I've had it running since we left." "So they can't track us?" Reeve hesitated. They shouldn't be able to. But Arya could feel it. Something was wrong. Not just outside, but inside. Something cold had awakened in her dreams. A memory, blurry and sharp at the same time. That night, Arya dreamed of the cages again, but this time it wasn't the market. She was younger, maybe 5. Her village burned. Soldiers, not slavers, dragged people away. Her mother screamed. Her sister vanished in the smoke. Arya was held by something large, wearing black armor. Not an alien. A human. When she looked up into his face, she didn't see a stranger. She saw Reeve. Arya sat up suddenly, heart pounding. She was alone in her cabin. Sweat on her skin. Breath short. The dream had felt real. Too real. She got up and walked quietly to the main deck. Reeve was sitting in the dark, staring at an old photo, a group of soldiers, Young, smiling, his face among them. Couldn't sleep either, he asked without looking. Arya stepped closer. Where was that picture taken? Tarkus 7. Small planet. Rebel uprising. We were sent to pacify. She hesitated. Did civilians die there? Reeves' hands tightened around the photo. Too many. We were told they were hiding weapons, but they were just scared. We followed orders anyway. Arya looked down. Was I there? Reeve turned, eyes sharp. What? I saw you. In my dream. You were holding me, dragging me away. In black armor. Reeve stood slowly. Arya, I was never at your village. I would remember. What if they erased it? She whispered. What if you were part of something darker? Something you forgot? Reeve didn't answer. They reached an abandoned station the next day, floating between dead moons covered in rust and shadows. Reeve had come to find old contacts. Smugglers, fighters, anyone who could help forge a new identity for Arya. They docked carefully. The station seemed empty. Reeve handed Arya a small shock pistol. Stay close, don't speak unless I say so. They stepped into the cold corridors. Everything was silent. Too silent. Where is everyone? Arya asked. Reeve scanned the halls. This place used to be a safe zone. No patrols, no slavers, just ghosts. Arya felt her hands shaking again. She didn't know why. Then she saw the blood. On the walls. Fresh. Reeve, she whispered. He stopped, eyes narrowing. He tapped a control on his wrist. We're not alone. They moved deeper into the station, past empty chambers and broken lights. Then they heard it. A voice. Mechanical. Soft. Echoing. Hello, Arya. She froze. Who was that? She whispered. Reeve stepped in front of her. Who's there? The voice replied. A friend. A creator. The one who watched her grow in the dark. Arya stepped out slowly. I know that voice. Reeve grabbed her arm. Stay back. But it was too late. From the shadows, a figure emerged. Not a man. Not a soldier. A machine. Half organic, half metal, tall and thin. Its head moved unnaturally. One eye glowed bright blue, the other was black and empty. You were made, Arya, not born. She stared, frozen. What? Reeve raised his weapon. What is this? The machine didn't move. She was part of Project Eve, a failed clone initiative, human-alien fusion, part memory, part design. The project was shut down. She was sold to the markets, but we never stopped watching. Arya's knees weakened. He's lying. The machine turned. Its head. How do you explain your dreams, your memory loss? Your face, which matches no known race. You are not a victim. You are an experiment. Reeve fired. The shot struck the machine's head. Sparks flew, but it didn't fall. Run, he shouted. Arya turned and ran with him, down the dark corridor, heart pounding. Behind them, the machine's voice echoed. You cannot escape yourself, Arya. Your blood calls to me. You are ours. Back on the ship, Reeve sealed the door. Arya collapsed to the floor, shaking. It's not true, she said again and again. He's lying. Reeve knelt beside her. Even if it is true, it doesn't matter. You're still you. I'm not even real, she whispered. You're more real than most people I've met, he said. You fought. You survived. That's what matters. But what if there's more of me? What if they can control me? Reeve looked her in the eyes. Then we burned the control. As the ship flew away from the station, Arya sat in silence, staring at her hands. She didn't know what she was anymore. But one thing was clear. The slavers weren't the only ones who wanted her. There were enemies in the shadows. Enemies who had built her, sold her, and were now ready to claim her. But this time, she wasn't alone. The fight for freedom. The silence inside the ship was heavier than ever. Arya stared at her reflection in the dark window, her face pale, eyes filled with storm. She no longer knew if what she saw belonged to her or to something. Created in a lab, programmed to be obedient, disposable, a weapon, a clone, a project. She whispered to herself, "I don't feel like a machine." Reeve entered the cockpit behind her. His steps were heavy, slower than usual. "We have a problem," he said. Arya turned, her voice flat. "What now?" "The machine back at the station. It tagged us. Tagged. Not just tracking. More like a recall signal. It's sending out a frequency. One I can't jam. Something buried deep in your DNA is responding to it." Arya stepped back. "What does that mean?" Reeve looked her in the eyes. "It means they're calling you home." The screen blinked red. Multiple ships inbound. Military grade. Fast. Arya clenched her fists. "We run again?" Reeve shook his head. "We can't outrun this. They'll keep coming. They want you alive." "For what?" "Maybe to dissect you. Maybe to control you. Maybe to turn you into a weapon again." Arya's voice broke. "Then, maybe I should just go. Give myself up, so they'll stop hunting us." Reeve stepped forward, face hard. "No. They don't get to decide who you are." Arya laughed bitterly. "But they already did. I'm not real. I was built." "They built flesh," Reeve said, "but you built yourself." Arya looked at him. Really looked. In his eyes she saw not a soldier, not a killer, but someone who had once stood in her place, torn between duty and identity. Someone who had burned his past to protect someone else's future. She took a breath. Deep. Slow. "Then let's stop running," she said. "Let's make them regret ever making me." Reeve smiled. "Good. Because I've got a plan." The enemy ships came fast, 4 of them surrounding a black carrier that hummed with unnatural energy. Inside it, in a cold, sterile chamber, the machine known as Archivist 7 prepared a surgical pod. Arya's name glowed on a screen. Subject 47. Priority reactivation. Full neural scan authorized. The machine didn't see a girl. It saw property. On the surface of a dead mining planet below, Reeve landed his ship in a deep crater, hidden from scanners. Arya and Reeve stepped out in silence. Reeve handed her a pulse rifle. "You ever use one?" "No. You'll learn fast." He placed a detonation pack on the ground. "I've wired the whole crater. If they want you, they have to walk right into hell." Arya glanced at him. "You're serious?" "Always." Then he looked at her and added, softer, "You don't have to fight. Not with weapons. But if they get to me, you will have to make a choice." She nodded. "I already have." The ships came down like steel birds. Dust flew everywhere. Engines. Short. Dozens of armored troops stepped out, weapons ready. Reeve stood in the center of the crater, waiting. Arya stood behind him, her finger on the detonator. From the largest ship, Archivist 7 floated out. Half machine, half nightmare. "Return the subject. No harm will come to you, human." Reeve smirked. "You built her with bones, with blood, with breath, but you forgot to give her a soul, and now you want it back." The machine replied, emotionless. "She is not a person." Arya stepped forward. "Then why am I choosing this for myself?" The machine paused. "You are corrupted. Unstable. We will fix you." Reeve raised his weapon. "Try." The fight began. Plasma fire lit up the sky. Explosions rocked the crater. Arya ran between rocks, firing back, her hands shaking, but steady. She hit one soldier, then another. Reeve fought beside her, fast, brutal, calculated. Not just defending, attacking. Arya saw blood, smoke, screams, but this time she didn't freeze. She moved. She fought. She lived. Reeve was wounded, shot in the leg. He dropped behind cover, breathing hard. "Arya, now!" She pressed the detonator. The earth screamed. A wave of fire swallowed half the troops. Dust filled the air. Pieces of metal rained down like deadly snow. The silence afterward was worse than the noise. Arya crawled to Reeve. "You're bleeding." "Just a scratch," he grunted. "Liar," she said, trying to smile. "You're getting better at reading people." Suddenly, a cold voice echoed again. "You cannot kill what was never alive." Arya turned. Archivist 7 still floated, body damaged but active. It reached toward her with a long metal hand. "You belong to me." Arya lifted her rifle. "No. I belong to myself." She fired point blank and into the machine's eye. It screamed, a sound of static and death, and fell. It was over. Reeve lay on the ground, weak but alive. Arya stood over him, armor scorched, face dirty, but eyes glowing with something new. Freedom. "You did it," Reeve whispered. "We did," she corrected. She helped him up. Together they walked back toward the ship through smoke and silence. Arya looked at the sky. "Do you think more will come?" Reeve nodded. "Maybe. Then we'll be ready." That night, as they flew through space once more, Arya looked at her reflection again. This time she smiled. She didn't care where she came from. She didn't care what she was made of, because now she knew who she was. Not a weapon, not a number, not a slave. She was Arya, and she was free. More than a memory. The stars looked different now. Arya sat in the co-pilot seat, watching them through the ship's wide window. They used to feel cold, endless, uncaring. Now they felt like pages in a story, one she had finally started to write for herself. Beside her, Reeve was silent, resting with his leg wrapped and healing. The bruises on his face had faded, but the tiredness in his eyes remained. He'd fought more than a war. He'd fought the guilt of everything he'd done and everything he'd left behind. They had won. The machines were gone. The recall signal was dead. No more trackers, no more slavers, no more whispers calling her subject. And yet, it didn't feel like the end. Not yet. Arya leaned forward. "What now?" Reeve didn't open his eyes. "What do you want now?" The question hit harder than she expected. "Don't know," she said. "I never had a choice before." "Then that's your first mission," he said. "Choose." They landed 3 days later on a quiet planet at the edge of human space. It wasn't much. Gray skies, blue grass, a few domes scattered across hills. A refugee settlement. Former slaves. Ex-soldiers. Lost people rebuilding themselves. Arya looked around as they walked through the gates. These people knew pain. They also knew survival. They were like her. An older woman walked over, smiling warmly. "Reeve," she said. "Been a while." Reeve nodded. "Heard you were setting up something here." "Safe zone. No patrols, no slaves, just healing." She looked at Arya. "This her?" "Arya," Reeve said. "She's not staying unless she wants to." The woman offered her hand. "Nice to meet you, Arya. You're safe here." Arya hesitated, then took her hand. For the first time, the word safe didn't feel like a lie. Later that night, Arya sat outside a small dome, watching children run through the grass. They laughed, loud, messy, free. No fear, no collars, no chains. Reeve joined her, sitting slowly with a wince. "Hurts more when the adrenaline wears off," she smiled. "Maybe you're just getting old." "Maybe," he chuckled. They watched the sky for a while. Then Arya spoke. "I remember more now, from before the market. Not much. Flashes. A girl with dark hair. I think she was my sister." Reeve nodded. "The mind protects itself. It hides pain until you're strong enough to face it." "I want to find her," Arya said. "Or at least find out what happened." "Then we will," Reeve said. "You'll help me?" "Always." But that night, while Arya slept, Reeve sent a private message through an old encrypted channel. "For Commander Talon. Tell her Project Eve has a survivor. Subject 47A. No longer under threat, fully independent. Request. Erase all traces from military archives. If anyone comes for her again, I'll come for them. Weeks passed. Arya started helping in the village, fixing systems, guarding supply routes, even teaching younger kids how to shoot safely. She was good at it, not because she was designed to be, because she cared. But inside, one question still burned. Who was she before all this? Before the market, before the lab, before even the war? Reeve helped her search. Hacked records, old files, back channels through black market networks. Most data was gone. But then they found it. One file, barely surviving. Fragmented. Subject 47A. Deviation identified. Memory instability. Human. Emotional response stronger than projected. Transferred to slaver systems for off-site termination. Arya stared at the words for a long time. They tried to delete me because I felt too much. Reeve replied. They feared what they couldn't control. Arya closed her eyes. Then I'm not a failure. I'm the first real success. Few days later, a small patrol ship landed on the edge of the valley. Not slavers. Not machines. Humans. From the United Earth Alliance. Reeve stepped out to meet them, hand resting on his weapon. A woman in uniform walked forward, gray hair, long coat, sharp eyes. Captain Reeve, she said, not a captain anymore. You were once, and we still owe you more than we admitted. Arya joined him, standing tall. The woman looked at her, surprised. Subject 47A. My name is Arya. The woman nodded. I'm not here to take you. I'm here to confirm you're alive and free. Reeve didn't relax. And to offer something you both earned. Full clearance. No bounty, no tags, clean records, citizenship if you want it. Both of you. Arya was stunned. Why? The woman replied. Because the galaxy needs reminders that some things are worth protecting. She left a data chip in Arya's hand. Then the ship rose and vanished into the sky. That night, Reeve sat alone at the fire, staring at the flame again. Arya sat beside him. You ever think about leaving? She asked. All the time. Then, why don't you? Reeve looked at her with a tired smile. Because when I look at you, I see something better than running. I see the chance to stay. She looked back at the fire. Me too. Arya walked the village the next day, her shadow long in the morning light. The kids ran to her, cheering, calling her name. Arya! Arya! Show us how to fight again. She laughed, heart full. Maybe later, she said. Today, we plant something. They looked confused. What? Hope, she said. We plant hope. As the sun rose, casting light over a world that had once only known war and pain, Arya stood tall, not a ghost of a broken past, not a weapon designed in secret, not a slave bought in chains. She was more than a memory. She was a story rewritten, a name reclaimed, and a future finally her own. The end.